Da 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 ba da ba da 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 da. Good morning. I'm recording this episode Monday afternoon, but it is still morning in my heart. I mean, honestly, I haven't posted a Corran in the morning in a long time. It's the Monday after the Star Wars CCG National Championship in my hometown of Columbus. Great weekend and all that, but I wanted to talk a little bit about loaning and borrowing cards for Star Wars CCG events. And I'm very tired. In the last 6 years, I've gone from being the guy who struggled to get budget versions of my decks assembled in time for events to someone who loaned out 2 entire decks as well as an assortment of random cards at Nationals. We'll start with the basics. Nobody should choose not to play a deck or a card within a deck because of card availability. I totally understand if you choose to play cards you own because you own those cards and want them to see play. But if you're a GEMP player with a limited collection, don't let the fact that you don't own the cards for a Senate deck keep you from playing that deck if it's the one you want to play at an event. There are a number of players in the community who will loan out decks even if they don't know you personally. Speaking of those players, if you want to volunteer to build decks for players who don't have cards, there are a few things you can do to make it easier for them. 1, make it clear on the forums, Slack, and whatever social media the event is getting talked about on that you are available to help build decks, and then when people reach out, follow through. I have had events in the past where I didn't know players personally well enough to reach out directly, and a more public post would have helped. 2, if you say you're available to help, make sure you follow through. Just realized I said that twice, but it is very important. Obviously, not everyone who's open to loaning cards has every card, but I've had public posts as well as PMs go unanswered in the past. This is the exception rather than the rule, but I felt it was worth mentioning. And finally, this one generally isn't an issue, but be sure to introduce yourself to new players and engage with people in your area who reach out trying to find local games. Not only will this make new players feel like they're welcome into the community, it will also make them more comfortable asking you to borrow cards and or having you ask others in the community to borrow cards on their behalf. What about those of you watching this video who are still borrowers? A few things for you. 1, whenever you're having someone build your deck for you or just borrowing a few big ticket cards, ask yourself if there are budget options that will not impact the quality of your deck. For example, if you're running a deck with multiple Emperor Palpatines and 0 Force Lightnings, Palpatine Galactic Emperor is probably an acceptable alternative card. Oftentimes it makes sense to run 1 Seal Off the Bridge instead of your 3rd or 4th We Must Accelerate Our Plans. Even players with the largest imaginable collections only have so many copies of things like Accelerate, so it helps if they're only loaning them out to players who really need them. If you're not sure about whether the budget version is acceptable, ask on Slack or the forums, or even the person you're borrowing from, and you should get a decent answer. 2, provide the person you're borrowing from with your list of needed cards as early as possible. A lot of times people are traveling in the week leading up to an event and or have family commitments the weekend before. The earlier you ask, the easier it is for them to get things together. Think about shields. You will never sit across the table from an opponent who's using the shields for your side of the force. So in almost all situations, you can just borrow your opponent's shields. However, if you don't want to spend the social energy asking every time or worry about the chance you'll get paired up with someone else who doesn't have shields, you should just try to have a pile of shields available. Some people bring extra shields to the event, but it doesn't hurt to let people you're borrowing from know that you don't have shields, just in case. And for V-slips, you should probably take on any arts and crafts requirements for yourself, but if you're scrambling and don't have access to a printer, at least create a V-kit PDF with all of the slips you need. This just saves time for someone who's already doing you a favor. And number 5, if you can't find the cards you need, come to the event. I will never forget the guy running around Nationals 2019 20 minutes after the event was supposed to start looking for 3 copies of They Must Never Again Leave This City. If it's a major, you can probably find the cards you need. If it's not a major, let's just say there are alternative options that Chris Schoenthal would get mad at me for mentioning. And even in the absolute worst case scenario, where you end up playing a deck full of budget or suboptimal cards, someone will likely see you with those cards and make sure you never show up to an event without everything you need to build a Hitco deck with 6 Jedi Lukes and a Destroyer Droids deck with 12 Destroyer Droids again. Thanks for watching, everyone. Star Wars CCG tournaments are fun. Make sure you attend any that you can. It's always worth the drive if there isn't one near you. Until next time, good luck, have fun, and no reverts.